I'm Abhimanyu Nohwar. I'm a product designer. I run my own design studio in Delhi, and it's called Kiba Design. And we do everything from product design, digital UX design, to design strategy. And in fact, I've written policy for the government in 2012. So we pretty much work all over the board. So the product is a rocking stool at its very basic level. It's called the Jolly Rocker because initially it was designed for children. Functionally, it allows you to sit on it like a stool and you can rock from side to side. And you can turn it around and you can rock back and forth as well. So I was scribbling one day and it entered my head as I was scribbling that I could maybe guide the line into forming some sort of a structure. And the structure sort of emerged, and I'd like to challenge myself sometimes doing this. And then I forced that structure into something functional. And that's when I got the single line structure of the very first iteration of the Jolly Rocker. So I don't usually take part in too many competitions, but GDL was different because I've actually seen it over the past few years. And I think it's got its heart in the right place. It's very honest and it's trying to do something which is, create this conversation around Indian design. And when I was selected, I was thrilled. I wanted to meet these people and talk to them and find out what they were all about. And that first Skype call was fantastic because it wasn't the product itself that was the point of conversation, but rather it was about the thought behind the product, and where we could potentially take it. This was an experiment in creating a piece of furniture which would be very, very easy to assemble by a child, very easy in terms of handleability, so it's very lightweight. There are no structural elements that require adhesives or joineries. You just kind of place the seat over the metal pipe structure. Beyond that, this, as you can see, there are three ways that you can actually use this stool, if you can call it a stool. It's a seesaw if two kids sit on either side. It can be used as a stool, of course. It's kind of fun to rock around, left and right. And it's also a rocking horse at the same time. I was just doing a couple of sketches this morning and trying to figure out if we can actually move away from that kind of structure, retain the same functionality, and do it, make the entire thing using just bent rods instead.
Understanding, balance and kind of fulcrum points maybe. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like a seesaw. If you sit closer versus farther away, you can make the heavy kid move up and down. Yeah. And I think one thing that would be interesting, while not losing sight of this particular model or idea, is like how would you design like almost a curriculum through furniture? Different seats have different lessons associated with them. Yeah. Because you're not asking the person to buy like 20 different pieces of furniture for the lessons. Yeah. There's kind of a combinatorial.
Yeah. So like one component can stay the same, and there could be multiple components that can be loaded onto it.
I know how to think in terms of systems, so kind of before I start to refine this object itself. So I think that would be the very first step, think in terms of the system. Then the second step would be to get the ball rolling on refining this. It was really nice to see that there was a lot of support for the idea and also a lot of interesting challenges, so how do you take that idea forward? So I think what's ended up happening at the end of this session is that my brief has exploded and there's a lot to think about in the coming weeks.
If I had one concern for him, it would be that, if he wants to do that kind of projective, conceptual project, then okay. But I do worry a little bit when he gets to the final point and up against the stage of everyone. I'm a little bit worried for him.
I'm meeting Kopal at the Proto Shop today. We're going to be discussing 3 variations I had made of my original design, and we'll select one that we take into prototyping. So as I was doing some research into children and moving and rocking, I discovered that children with autism actually naturally tend to move and rock a lot. So that actually led me to explore another version where one could actually sit on this stool for a longer period of time, you know.
Yeah.
And what that meant was that the seat had to be very comfortable. And that's when I started to change the structure, and I found that, you know, we could maybe just use metal rods and create a grid structure on it, or just, you know, in one direction, we just use rods that go across. And then we find a way to make a softer seat that we place on top of it.
I think that's very interesting, and also the point that, you know, we kind of soften this entire surface up, so it's more kid friendly than it can be with just a ply surface.
So the idea is maybe one of inclusion, you know. So this becomes a furniture piece which is all inclusive. You know, it doesn't look like a medical product.
I have a feeling that it could go beyond kids though. When we are talking about just fidgeting, probably people might, like us, also might like to sit on a chair like this and just fidget off their time in their office.
Okay, so since the last time we met, I've come up with 3 options.
Right.
And the first one, Alpha, is a plywood seat with embedded lights and sensors.
Right.
Bravo, the second version, is a metal rod structure. There's no electronics in this, but it's basically it's the bare bones shell, so it performs the function. The third one is Charlie, which is a variation of the first one, first Alpha, and it's basically the seat is round, and the base is also a round rocking base.
Yeah.
So what this does is it's a much more compact stool, and it has the same embedded LEDs and sensors.
But as of right now, I think Bravo is something that we can concentrate on, or we should, considering its scope right now. I think the meeting with Abhimanyu went perfect. He has a lot of ideas on where he wants to take his product from. Where we started from, I think he's taken it a long way. I think the direction that he's following is kind of good.
So I met Kopal, and we discussed the 3 design options that I'd come up with, and we fixed on one of them, which is Bravo, and the next step is to start prototyping. So today the first prototype has been made, and we've also experimented a little bit with the weaving. I'm just waiting for Kopal to come by and have a look.
Hi, Abhimanyu.
Hey Kopal. So here we go.
Yes.
The first prototype, and this is also the first exploration of sort of a weave in trying to create a seat. So we've got this going around the side, and the idea is it goes around and then in the center.
This looks damn cool, yeah. With foam inside,
Yeah.
it could add a lot more cushion than just weaving.
So I considered all of that, but eventually came upon this.
Yeah.
And there's ways of, you know, just pulling this out. And if you just pull it out, it forms an extra cushion just by virtue of its space. So the thing is, it's really easy to sit on. Only thing is, the degree of motion is too much. It's a lot. So I think one thing I might want to look into is reducing that, making it a little bit more controlled. But as far as kids, yeah, the kids love it. So I just had the meeting with Kopal, and we decided a number of things actually. One is that the stool actually works for adults as well. So I'm going to look at a different version of the stool, which is slightly taller, and maybe adjust the dimensions a little bit, make it slightly more compact, and also make the degree of motion, you know, of the rocking motion less. And I'm very happy with how that's turning out. So I'm here finally sitting on the final 2 prototypes of my stool design, and I've got to say it feels pretty good. This is everything I was hoping for. What we've done is we've arrested the degree of motion, so now it's far more controlled. You don't feel like you're going to fall off. And also the base has been flattened just that tiny bit, so it stays fairly stable. So you don't just sit on it and immediately start to rock. You can stay fairly stable. And they're looking good. The weaving is is really good. There are no gaps that I was worried about. The weaver's done a fantastic job. The fabric feels lovely. It's got a nice texture to it. It's soft to the touch. So this is exactly what I was hoping for, and I'm very happy with how the prototypes have come out. And this is what's going to be going for the photo shoot. So today I'm at the ambient shoot of my product, and it's also the first time I've seen it come together completely. So to see it in this scenario where it looks like it's part of a home, it's quite special. It's a big jump from where it was just an idea to something that looks like it could be part of your life. So yeah, I'm very excited. I think GDL has been extremely well designed as an engagement, with the designers. I've had a really great time interacting with the mentors, and it's like the open access policy is fantastic. I mean, I can just pick up the phone and have these long chats and figure out where we can push that product. It's been great to have that as a sounding board. And in my particular case, the fact that the entire prototype could be developed right here at Godrej was fantastic, because I could work with people who understood design in the tool shop. And that really helped in putting everything together. So we're finally here. We're at the exhibition, and the product is here. It's looking really great, and I'm pretty excited to see how people react to it. So we originally set the rocking stools very carefully in the display, and almost instantly people just came, moved them around, sat on them, made them their own. They've been rocking away, and almost everyone just wants to own one straight outright, including me. So it's been very, very positive, and it's very satisfying to see people enjoying the product. It just puts a smile on their face immediately.
The Jolly Rocker is very much in keeping with our time, where a lot of the work that we're doing at GNB is looking at how we can create objects or devices or services to keep people healthy. And the Jolly Rocker is super cool because when you sit on it, because it's slightly unstable and it rocks, it makes your body, it makes your core actually work harder to keep yourself upright in that position. So it doesn't exhaust you, but it also doesn't put you to sleep.
One of the things that I really liked was the rocking chair that was done for autistic children. I think that's such a beautiful example of how sensible and sensitive we can be in India with creativity. How our concern and this country's concern is first with solving real problems of our people.
The Jolly Rocker, I think, is a very interesting amalgamation of great design and functionality.
So a really interesting bit of early validation happened when a parent of an autistic child actually came in here, took a look at the product, and just said he wants it right now, because he got the relation instantly. It's very gratifying to see that the assumptions and all the design that we put into it, all the thought that we put into it, actually is real world. It has real world applications. So I'm very excited to see people actually using it, and this tool actually making a difference.